You spend more time choosing the film than you'd spend watching it. That isn't an indecision problem. It's a prediction problem. You're not trying to pick. You're trying to know how it ends before it starts. You open the takeaway menu, read it 4 times, and order your usual anyway. You type a message, delete it, rewrite it, then ask a friend whether it sounds normal, or you do the other thing entirely. You get so worn out by choosing that you choose nothing, close the laptop, and eat toast standing up. None of that is laziness. Laziness would be faster. Most people think the problem is that they're indecisive. Some quiet voice that says you're just bad at this, and everyone else seems to manage fine. Why is it so hard to make decisions? Look at what you actually do. You don't avoid the decision, you research it relentlessly. You read the reviews, you ask the group chat, you check Reddit, you ask an AI, then you ask a different AI in case the first one was being polite. That isn't avoidance, that's effort. And normally, effort produces progress. This is the one place it doesn't. You think you're choosing between options. You're not. You're trying to predict an outcome. You don't actually want to know which film is better. You want to know whether you'll enjoy the next 2 hours. You don't want to know if the message sounds normal. You want to know whether they'll judge you for sending it. You're never asking which one. You're asking, will this turn out okay? And that is a question about the future. Information can't answer it. Nothing can. The future hasn't happened yet. So you're not bad at deciding. You're asking for a guarantee, and there isn't one. And this is why asking people doesn't fix it either. You ask one friend, then another, then your partner, then the group chat, then a stranger on the internet who has never met you. You're not really collecting opinions. You're hoping someone will say the one sentence that makes the doubt switch off. But they can't. They can't see your future either. So you end up with 5 opinions and the same uncertainty you started with, plus the faint embarrassment of having involved this many people in the purchase of a toaster. Picture a graph. Along the bottom, information. Up the side, confidence. Everyone assumes the line goes up. More information, more confidence. And for the first couple of pieces, it does. You read one review, you feel better. You read a second, better still. Then it flattens. Every new review gives you one reason to buy and one reason not to. Every new option hands you a fresh thing to worry about. The reasons cancel each other out. The line stops climbing. That's the confidence ceiling. Past a certain point, information stops adding certainty and just keeps adding options. The list gets longer. The confidence stays exactly where it was. And because you can feel yourself working, a flat line feels like going backwards. Nobody ever reaches the bottom of the reviews and feels finished. You just eventually stop. Nobody ever says, I've finally gathered enough information. They say, fine, I'll just get this one. Decisions don't happen because certainty arrives. They happen because patience leaves. And then oddly, the thing is usually fine, which should tell you something. But it rarely does, because by the time you've noticed, you're already stuck on the next one. The average person spends about 40 days of their life deciding what to watch. I have no source for that. It felt true, so I kept it. But the feeling is real, which is the only part that matters here. The deciding bit regularly takes longer than the thing itself. You'll spend 40 minutes choosing a 20-minute episode. You'll stand in the kitchen long enough to have cooked the meal you can't decide whether to cook. And unlike the meal, which ends, the research doesn't. There's always another review, another opinion. The streaming service stops being a way to watch things and quietly becomes a research project with no deadline and no finish line. And somehow it's always the smallest decisions that get the biggest treatment. You'll spend 40 minutes deciding where to meet your mate and 10 minutes deciding whether to move in with your girlfriend. The big decisions feel impossible, so you skip the prediction entirely and just jump. The small ones feel solvable. Like if you just read one more review, the answer will finally appear. But where to eat is the same prediction problem as who to live with. It's just cheaper to be wrong about. And those small ones never stop coming. 3 meals a day, every day, forever. The tiredness you feel isn't about any single decision. It's about running the same prediction that never pays off hundreds of times a week on things that were never worth predicting in the first place. So if patience is what eventually ends every decision, and the thing is usually fine, what was all the research protecting you from? Making decisions was never the hard part. Not the wrong film. You can switch it off. Not the wrong lunch. You'll have forgotten it by dinner. Not the wrong message. You can send another one. When something does go wrong, you don't just regret the choice. You replay the decision. You ask whether you should have known, whether the signs were there, whether someone more careful would have spotted it. You're not judging the choice anymore. You're judging yourself, which is a lot of emotional weight to put on a Tuesday night takeaway. That's what keeps the tabs open. You're not comparing options. You're building a case. If it goes wrong, you want to be able to say you did everything you could. You checked the reviews. You asked the group chat. You consulted 2 separate AIs. You were thorough. The research isn't a search for the best option. It's an alibi for the worst one. The 3rd review you didn't need. The Reddit thread at midnight. The friend you asked even though you already knew what you wanted. None of it was research. It was insurance against future regret. You're running a full investigation into something you'll have forgotten about by next week. And that's why 2 options being impossible to separate feels so painful. It should be a relief. If they're basically the same, there is no wrong answer. But it doesn't feel that way, because the fear was never about the options. It was about you. Being the person who had the right answer sitting there and still picked the wrong one. Over a film you'd have finished watching by now. So the next time you've been staring at 2 options for longer than you'd spend using either one, and you can feel yourself opening one more review that you already know won't settle it, you're no longer gathering information. You're rehearsing regret for something that hasn't happened yet. Close every tab except 2. Set a 2-minute timer. When it goes off, pick whichever one you were leaning towards before the research started. That first quiet preference, the one you had before the reviews and the group chat got involved, was information. You didn't lose it. You just researched your way out of it. And the thing you pick will almost certainly be fine. It was always going to be fine. That was never the part in question. Not, I can't make decisions. I'm trying to predict something I can't predict. One of those says you're broken. The other says you're looking for a guarantee that was never on the menu. Much easier to put down. So why is it so hard to make decisions? It's not the decisions. It never was. Anyway, I've had a film paused on the selection screen for about 40 minutes now. If this was helpful, consider subscribing. It helps YouTube know this was useful,